Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. A lot of people have asked me about talkSPORT. What do I think of it, and why do I think that they're so anti-Matchroom and pro-Warren, and why does Uncle Frank get an easy ride when Eddie gets, blitzed? And look, I don't listen to talkSPORT. I don't think I've ever listened to it, but I have watched interviews, like clips on YouTube. So I can only give you my opinions as pretty much as an outsider, as someone who doesn't listen to talkSPORT a lot. But it seems to me that, okay, here's a few observations, random observations, and I may be well missing a few important points, but here we go. Number one, no one on that panel has a clue what they're talking about. Simon Jordan seems to me to be not really a journalist. I think he's denied being a journalist, but he's certainly got a lot to say for himself. And a lot of what he talks about, he will present his opinions as facts, which no journalist should ever do. No TV presenter should do, because you don't become objective, you don't become journalistic even by proxy. You become a polemicist, someone who's just got an agenda and is going to, give their opinions out there. That's all that matters. Not interested in listening to anyone else, not listening to any counter arguments. I have this agenda to peddle. And Simon Jordan does not strike me as the most knowledgeable man on boxing. I wouldn't say he's completely clueless from what I've heard him say. He does occasionally make some good points, because not all of his criticisms against Hearn are invalid. Certainly he made a lot of good points over the Conor Benn issue. But generally speaking, he strikes me as being a sort of multi-millionaire, sort of, either he's middle class or he's sort of nouveau riche guy who just likes the sound of his own voice. I know what people are going to say. Well, you're the one with the YouTube channel. You like the sound of your own voice. Yes, I do, but there is a certain... I'm always willing to listen to counter arguments. I like to think that I'm pretty objective with these videos, although there are some things that piss me off and there's some things I don't like. But if you want to correct me on anything and you've got a good point, I will always admit it. Then you've got Spencer Oliver, former fighter, not really the brightest bulb in the floodlight. I don't want to sound rude. I mean, the guy had a brain injury and he's a former fighter, so who am I? Bloke with a YouTube channel to say anything against him. But he doesn't strike me as making, from what I've seen, and I haven't seen a great deal, again, I'm only going by what I've seen on YouTube, but he doesn't seem to me to be making many particularly revelatory points or pertinent points, or I don't sit there thinking, oh, Spencer had a good point, yeah, I hadn't realised that, and then we come to our old friend Gareth A. Davies. Need I say more? I mean, yeah. Tyson Fury's mate, clearly Frank Warren's little minion. I don't know. Look, I don't like the guy. Never have liked the guy. Love taking the piss out of him. I think that's all he's really good for. Perhaps if we melted him down for glue, he'd have a second purpose in life. But as a journalist, certainly as anyone who is neutral, or who hasn't sold their soul to certain factions, no, he just seems to me to be a sort of middle class, posh lad, white boy, whatever you want to call him, who has got his claws into boxing. I don't know why. Maybe he genuinely likes watching boxing. I don't know, but he certainly isn't objective. He's another one who has I think a great deal of bias towards Warren. Simon Jordan is someone who clearly is triggered, instantly by Eddie Hearn. I mean, Eddie's only got a smile at him and he's off. And I'm not someone who, if you've watched my videos before, you'll know I'm not someone who would ever trust Hearn. I don't think he is very trustworthy, but I do think he's a very good promoter, and I do think that if I was one of his clients, I'd want him on my side, because he will fight the corner for his clients. I mean, whatever you think about his comments about Conor Benn, and I have multiple criticisms of that, he fought the corner for his guy. But Simon Jordan doesn't like him. And I often think that if you have that reaction to someone, perhaps it's because you're seeing your own worst qualities in them, if you know what I mean. I think there might be something of that going on. Because I've watched both of their little confrontations, which is like watching a couple of schoolboys argue. Not a great deal of maturity going on there, but, all right, it is what it is. I think Hearn came out top on both of them because he had that sort of, rather knowing smirk on his face, and a lot of the time he would make points that he would. Hearn actually, during those two little contretemps, he actually said, well, actually I made a mistake there, or I've learned from that, and I didn't handle that particularly well. There were occasions when he did that. Jordan would never do that. He'd never admit he's wrong. On the contrary, all his opinions should be presented as facts. So I thought Hearn came out better. But there's no doubt that when both Gareth A. Davies and Simon Jordan bump into Frank Warren, whether it's on the phone or in person, they give him an easy gig. Now, I know Simon Jordan did an interview with Warren where he did touch upon certain things and make certain disagreements, but it was almost like they were, sharing a cup of Darjeeling and a fondant fancy together. There was no confrontation. It was, they were sitting opposite each other, and it was all very sort of cordial and, respectful, and, no one raised their voice and so on. But that's the most Jordan will do to Warren, is he might, respectfully disagree. With Hearn, straight for the jugular every time. And that's not fair, regardless of what you think of Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren, that's just not fair. Gareth A. Davies, totally in the pocket of Warren. Tyson Fury can do no wrong. Never asks the awkward questions. I believe he is a print journalist. I believe he currently works for the Telegraph. I don't read his column, Mrs. But the guy just seems to me to be a total stooge for Queensberry Promotions, not as vitriolic towards Hearn and Matchroom, and that's why I think the reason for that is he wants to appear more balanced. If he was as vitriolic towards Matchroom and Hearn as Simon Jordan, it would emphasise the fact that he is so lenient, and more than lenient, so in favour of Warren and Queensberry. So he kind of balances it out with a little bit more. The criticism of Hearn and Matchroom is tapered, but there's no doubt. I mean, the way he talks about he's talked about Fury's title reign. They refer to Fury, they being Jordan as well as Davies, the best heavyweight in the world. Fury has not proven that. He may well be the best, but he has not proven it, because if you look at any top 10 rankings, he's only faced, maybe 3. In some rankings, he's only faced 2 of the top 10. He hasn't cleared out the division at all. He's never fought Joshua. It doesn't matter how many times Joshua's lost. Fury's never beaten him. Never faced Usyk. Frank Sanchez, Makhmedov. Who else we got? Jared Anderson. They're all floating around. Bakoli. No, not interested. Instead, I'm going to fight Francis Ngannou. Neither Gareth A. Davies nor Simon Jordan have gone in, all guns blazing on Warren for that. And they should have done. That's an occasion. This is actually a subject where you need journalists to go in mob-handed, to go for the jugular. And they haven't. And, neither really has Spencer Oliver. A good example would be recently Warren was on talkSPORT talking about the low blow, that he claims it was a legitimate shot on Usyk from Daniel Dubois. Dubois was also in the studio, as was Don Charles. No one played devil's advocate during that interview and said, hang on a minute, there is a definite case to be made that was a low blow. None of them did it. And that's not journalism. That, to me, it's pointless watching that sort of thing. That's not a debate. That's not a conversation. That's just people pandering, sucking up to a particular agenda which is being peddled. And therefore, if you're silent, you are party to it. So, who else have we got? Catterall. What's that fella's name? Catterall? I've seen him. He's not Jack Catterall, is it? Jack Catterall's, what the hell's his name? Well, his surname's Catterall. Anyway, I can't remember. This is how often I watch talkSPORT. But he did have a go at Warren. And Warren just, flipped his lid and said, "You're talking crap, you don't know what you're talking about." And to be honest with you, Catterall didn't know enough about boxing, doesn't know enough about boxing, to counter. If there had been someone in there who, one of the, not even someone who's a proper journalist, but maybe, say, a YouTuber, one of the better YouTubers, a Hat Man or a Beats, or someone who was on there, they'd have stood Warren on his head, because Warren was the one talking crap, but he's saying to Catterall, "You don't know what you're talking about, blah blah blah," and Catterall didn't have enough knowledge, didn't have enough insight to plead the case, which was a very valid case, convincingly. He just had to listen to Warren, and Warren, of course, was able to tie him up and obscure the facts, and so a little bit of respect to this Catterall guy. I'll have to look up his Christian name, but generally speaking, look, talkSPORT. Again, I don't listen to it. I just watch bits and pieces on YouTube. People have asked me about it, so those are my opinions. If you think I've missed something out, missed a point out, please leave it below in the comments. But what do you think of it? Do you like talkSPORT? Maybe you do. Maybe they're good at football. Maybe they cover other sports well. I don't know. Honestly, don't know. But yeah, leave your comments below. And as always, thanks for your time. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a like, hit the like button as well. It all counts apparently, with the, what do they call it? Not the demographics. What do they call those things? Those YouTube things. I'm not got the word. Yeah, the ones that sort everything out and count everything and all this bullshit. Yeah, and well, anyway, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Looking forward to your comments, and bye for now.